Hey y'all, my name is Juliana, and this is Juliana Talks Films, the channel where I explore and examine films and filmmakers. If you love films and filmmaking, consider subscribing for weekly videos. In today's episode, we'll be highlighting some of the most accomplished female cinematographers working on films today. Women cinematographers make up about 5% of the active cinematography workforce in Hollywood today, which is a pretty dismal number. As gender disparity continues to be addressed in this field, my hope is that this number will rise dramatically in the coming decades. In the meantime though, I do believe it's important to highlight the accomplishments of women DPs, not just because they're women, but because they can and will inspire the future generation of female identifying creatives to come in, study cinematography, and get into the workforce. The more we see representation of women working behind the camera, the more accepted, normalized, and expected it will become. So with all that said, here are a few female cinematographers you should know. Number 1, Natasha Brehm.
I think my voice, I probably found it very early on. I started still photography when I was 16. I set up my whole dark room, so I spent like a lonely teenager with no friends in a new country for a year, going crazy in the dark room and trying every single weird chemical technique and probably poisoning myself and losing 10 years of life and getting my hands to look 20 years older with all this experimenting, but it was a lot of fun. I was always quite experimental and searching for very alternative ways of photographing and trying to express emotions through light and framing.
Natasha Brehm is an Argentinian native who's been the director of photography for The Neon Demon, Gloria and Honey Boy, along with many other films. She's known for experimenting with lights and spacing in complex and strategic ways to capture the moods of her subjects and settings. Natasha attended the National Film and Television School in England, where she earned her master's degree in cinematography. She's gone on to be the DP of numerous short films, international commercials, and feature films. You can check out her full bio in the description below. Number 2, Rachel Morrison.
I sort of grew up with a camera in my hand. I always felt comfortable behind the lens, and I would take the family photos, and then I would take photos of my friends, but then also became really interested in the concept of cinematography and sort of a more complete narrative in 24 frames a second and being able to tell a story, not just in the static image, but in a moving image.
Most notably, Rachel is known for being the first ever female cinematographer to be nominated for an Academy Award for her work on Mudbound. The cinematographer also shot Black Panther, Dope, and Fruitvale Station, just to name a few films. After graduating with a master's degree in cinematography from the AFI Conservatory, she began her career in television and gradually worked her way up to become the principal director of photography on shows and films. Fun fact, she's had 7 consecutive films premiere at Sundance from 2008 to 2015. Number 3, Hélène Kuras.
I believe in fate because this had to be fate. I was asking everybody, I was like, listen, do you know anybody who has a used camera that I can buy? Somebody said, oh, talk to that guy over there. He's an equipment dealer. And I talked to him, and it turns out he had just got an SR2. I borrowed money, I begged my parents, and I bought this camera. And it changed my life.
Hélène Kuras is a legendary director of photography who contributed in part to the brilliance of films like Blow, Coffee and Cigarettes, and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Hélène's worked on a number of documentaries, ranging from Spike Lee's 4 Little Girls to Martin Scorsese's Rolling Thunder Review, a Bob Dylan story. Her 30-plus years as a director of photography attests to the creativity and originality she brings to every shoot. Check out her full bio in the description below. Number 4, Hélène Louvart.
When we did this Journey of Gabriel, we were not afraid to do what we wanted to do, and sometimes we could do something bad and sometimes something very good, like the last moment when he's in this house. We didn't see the house before, and in fact, I have to say that we were not afraid. It means we were only the 2 of us. And if I could do some mistake, if it was out of focus or if it was underexposed or overexposed, it doesn't matter because it was like a diary. And in fact, we were not afraid. We were totally flexible. And I think the people around and we shot, they saw you and me with the Super 16 camera. And I think this sort of, I will not say documentary, but yeah, it's mean we didn't bother anyone, and if we couldn't shoot, we went in another place, and we were totally open-minded, and we were not afraid, and we trust what we did. And I think at this moment it's very important.
In Helene's 20 plus years as a filmmaker, she's managed to serve as cinematographer on more than 59 feature films, 49 short films and documentaries, 10 television shows, and a few experimental and video projects. Most notably, Helene's director of photography skills have been showcased in films such as Beach Rats, Happy as Lazzaro, and Invisible Life. Before kicking off her career, Hélène attended the prestigious film school Louis Lumière College in Paris, France. Number 5, Claire Mathon.
C'est un souvenir, puisqu'elle raconte cette histoire, donc effectivement elle le compte, et puis on est effectivement assez vite plus tellement dans je sais pas, c'est le mélange, c'est des choses qu'on a pas mal un peu discuté, qui étaient à quel endroit se situe l'époque, le récit et l'époque et le décalage effectivement de ce conte. Effectivement, c'est vrai que c'est physiquement, enfin en géographie, c'est un peu un conte. Il y a un peu, j'arrive en bateau, je traverse la lande, il y a une forêt et un château. On voit pas grand monde à part ces femmes autour du feu. Enfin, les espaces sont assez, effectivement, un peu comme dans un conte, en tout cas pour ce qui est des espaces et de la géographie. Mais je pense que oui, ça plairait à Céline de parler de conte.
Claire had a particularly outstanding year in 2019, with 2 of her films, Portrait of a Lady on Fire and Atlantic, making major buzz at the Cannes Film Festival. The French director of photography has worked on a number of other features and documentaries spanning the last 2 decades. Like fellow director of photography Hélène Louvart, Claire studied cinematography at the Louis Lumière College. And number 6, Charlotte Bruus Christensen.
It was in many ways. There was a simplicity to the way we made it, you know, that made it feel like an independent and smaller movie. Yet it was still a studio movie. You know, Paramount Pictures were behind it. But what made it kind of feel intense and like small was that John and the location team found this amazing location upstate New York. So everything is shot on this location. There's a couple of sets that are like an hour or 2 north of there. But it meant that, you know, the crew was traveling up there and we settled down. It wasn't a huge crew. We only had, you know, there was 4 people in the cast, main cast and a couple of other names on there. But it was a small cast, and so it just made it feel small. We didn't have a big stage to do the few sets that we had on stage. There was a nearby riding arena. So we just built those 3 sets in this riding arena. And so it made it kind of feel very independent and, you know, like a small family that was just really excited about this project and this idea. It's a high concept project, you know, so the idea and John Krasinski being, you know, he's a man full of energy, and it kind of gives something to everybody that, you know, the people behind it really believes in it. And so it felt like an independent movie.
Charlotte's brilliance lies in her ability to unravel psychological, complex subject matter in a visually stunning and simplistic way. She's been the director of photography on The Girl on the Train, Fences, Molly's Game, and most recently, A Quiet Place. The Danish filmmaker has been recognized for her outstanding work through various award nominations and wins. It's so inspiring to hear from these female cinematographers, and it honestly makes me consider going back to film school and pursuing a master's degree in cinematography. So what about you guys? Are there any female cinematographers that you think everyone should know about? Leave a comment below and let us know. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one.